Welcome to Lead Where You Live, Tucson Voices in Leadership. I'm Jamie Leon-Guerrero.
And I'm Raysun Frost. This podcast is all about real people leading with heart in our community.
We believe leadership isn't about titles, it's about action. And Tucson is full of people making a difference in big and small ways.
Join us as we chat with inspiring voices who are showing up, stepping up, and shaping Tucson's future.
Let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Raysun Frost.
And I'm Jamie Leon-Guerrero.
And today we have Michael Brasher with us. Oh, I just realized, now we're going to cut that out because I just realized, how do you say your last name?
Brasher.
I said it right.
Brasher.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have Michael Brasher. He is a PhD, is a coach, speaker, author, and former nonprofit CEO who helps men and communities heal generational pain and lead with emotional integrity. His work blends lived experience, deep coaching, and research in masculinity, trauma, and systems change. Michael is the founder of Life Unbound Coaching and the creator of the Intergenerational Impact Assessment, a free tool helping men evaluate the legacy they're creating. He's spoken on stages across the Southwest and is passionate about building a new model of power rooted in care, presence, and accountability. Welcome, Michael. We're glad to have you.
Awesome.
welcome.
Thank y'all so much for having me. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Raysun.
Welcome to Lead Where You Live. And I'm so excited to have you here. It's been a while since I've seen your face. So this will make you're bringing me joy this morning. We'll get right into it. And we'll get with the first question. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Tell us, where does your name come from?
Ooh, great question. So Michael, it's a pretty common name. You could throw a rock in public and you'll probably hit a Michael. Its meaning is actually who is like God. And I always love that. It's sort of a reminder for me to stay humble, stay connected to myself, stay thoughtful. So yeah, that's sort of the origins of my name. And I will tell you this, my family had a battle for my name and my mom called me Caleb for like the first 2 months of my life, but the rest of my family called me Michael. And so they eventually waited her out.
Is that where the Michael Caleb comes from?
That's it. Yep.
Nice. What about Brasher?
Yeah. So Brasher it's English in origin. And I don't know tons about that lineage, which is kind of interesting, right? My work is really interested in helping men think about how do we be intentional about the legacy that we lead. And so that's really like where my work is it's focusing on legacy. And I don't know that much actually about the lineage of that name.
Thank you. I know a Michael.
Can you tell us a little bit about where you live and what you love about where you live?
Yeah, totally. So I live in Tucson, Arizona. And what I really love here is the desert, right? I love that the desert does not pretend, right? I grew up in Georgia. So in Georgia, you could just accidentally grow a garden. You know what I mean? Everything is so fertile. You could accidentally just have all kinds of wonderful stuff. And here in the desert, right, it takes a lot of effort and care and attention and presence to really make life grow. And I think energetically, I felt that living here. I've had to be a more careful, thoughtful, tuned in version of myself. And that's something that I really love about being here, that energy.
And since you mentioned gardening, do you actually garden? Is that part of your lived experience too? Are you a gardener here in Tucson?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I grew up, my parents were just like that. So we were all working in the garden, like it or not, on the weekends. And so now we have a couple of big raised beds that I built a few years back in our yard. And it's a really precious part of our family life is just passing that on to my kids, right? Helping them learn how to grow food.
Yeah. Something cool about the desert, though, I like how you have to be really intentional if you're trying to grow things, but the desert's super resilient too. I've been in my house for over 10 years and I'm not a planter or a green thumb, and nothing dies. Like, just wait till the monsoons comes and it flowers will grow and everything, it just comes back to life. So I love that about the desert too. It's just super resilient.
100%.
People here are resilient too, right? I love that. I don't know.
Yeah. Big renewal energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you. I've a little bit. I've taken one of your classes
Yeah.
and know you through GTL. But
Hmm.
for people who don't know you or want to get to know you a little bit better, what's something people don't know about you?
Yeah. So I am. You mentioned it, Raysun. Like I'm a PhD. I'm turning my dissertation into a book. And I do really serious work. That's very important to me. And I think a lot of people that know me on the surface, that's what they associate about me. But something people may not know, I'm super devoted to improv comedy. And I am a huge, it's a deep belief of mine that we can't take things too seriously. It's one of my own red flags in my life. When I'm being too serious for too long, I know I need to shift something. And
Mm,
it's a place where my kids keep me really accountable. We often play improv games at dinner, and yeah, it totally helps me to stay sane and healthy.
I love that. Where do you do any improv here?
I sure do. Tucson Improv Movement.
Really?
It's a great place to go. Yeah,
Are you in the are you
yeah. I'm in the company.
I
Yeah,
did
right
not
now
know
I'm.
that. I
Yeah, yeah. And in fact, right now I'm taking the 501 class with Justin, CEO of
Okay.
Greater Tucson Leadership, which is an awesome class. So it's a big shout out to that theater. They do really amazing.
Motivating me to take the class.
Come
Does
on, I'll go with you.
improv have like do you have shows then? You said you're part of the cast, so do you have
Yeah, I
shows?
do. Yeah, I
What
do.
are
Right now I'm on a team that one Sunday a month. We have a show. I've also been taking classes, and when you take classes, you usually do a community showcase. And later on this year, I'm hoping to join a second team. So then I would be doing 2 shows a month.
Well, I have to say from someone who has not done improv that it feels very brave to me for people because it's not practice. It's not, it doesn't come from this place of expertise. It's from, a totally different place. And so it's very brave of you.
Yeah, thank you. My wife told me that improv would be her idea of the perfect punishment. Like truly the worst thing she could experience in front of people on stage, live, needing to make it up. And for me, it's a place of joy.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how leadership shows up for you in all three aspects of your life? So,
Yeah.
personal, professional, as well as within the Tucson community.
Yeah, for sure. I love leadership, and I have been studying it for as long as I can remember. My dad was really big into leadership, always reading leadership books. So even when I was a freshman in high school, I was taking his little books when he would finish them and I was reading them. Um, and I think for me, so I'll answer how it shows up in these 3 ways, but just to say, like, for me, leadership is really being willing to go first, to create a space where other people feel comfortable being honest and taking risks. That to me is peak leadership. So, with my kids, for example, it's really important for me, one, that I apologize to them. And that's a form of leadership. Hey, I shouldn't have acted the way I acted the other day. I feel really sad about how I talked to you a few minutes ago. And one, yeah, like apologizing is the right thing to do, but it's actually so that they can hold more space for the parts of themselves that make mistakes, right? Like, okay, dad does too. I need my son to see me be sad sometimes. Son, I'm feeling really sad about this thing that happened today. So that he can reconcile with those parts of himself and he can be present with those parts of himself. So for me, that's like leadership at home, right? As I am demonstrating the things that I want my kids to become more comfortable demonstrating. And it's been the exact same in my professional work. So I'll just talk about, like, my work with men, like helping men to heal, helping men to break intergenerational cycles. I've trained so many other men at this point to take leadership in this work. And what I always tell them is leadership, my friend, is just going first. Be vulnerable. And other men will say, wow, that was gutsy. Oh, crap. Maybe I should be vulnerable too. Okay. He's trying it. I'm going to try it. Right. And then next thing you know, you have like communities of men who are really taking big, healthy risks together. Yeah, and I think, similarly in my community life, it's the same thing. So even right now, right, something I felt in my own life, I'm really active in my kids' parent school community. And I know a lot of the dads there, and we don't have places where we can really like let down our guard and connect in a meaningful way. And I suffer from that as much as anybody sometimes. I'm like, just work, parenting, any other things I can keep alive. And then there's not much time left. And so something that we recently started doing was just having a free monthly online talking circle. And it's the same thing, it's like, how do I start by modeling for this space the things that I hope other people will also bring into this space. So that is really my approach to leadership. And yeah, I would say it really guides how I try to show up in all parts of my life.
Love that. And I really heard you say three main points. One is not just taking action, but being the first one to sort of lead the charge so that others can join in. Be brave, do improv, be brave to step forward and allow others to follow in your footsteps or I not even follow you, but to join
Yeah,
you at the table.
totally.
The other thing was that modeling behaviors. You said that several times that for you,
Yeah,
leadership is so much just about modeling what you think leadership is, being the one to do it, show it. Don't just say it, show it,
yeah,
right?
100%.
And then the third thing really was taking responsibility for your own actions. So not about necessarily saying sorry, but just that you were taking responsibility. And that part of being a
Yeah,
leader to you means that you show up and you take responsibility for your own actions.
yeah, great, great. I love how you're putting it, Rayson. Yeah, 100%.
I love everything that you're doing for like your community and for like boys and men and just you make I think one of the takeaways that I always learn from you, even just listening to you talk right now, is like how I can show up for my grandson a little bit better, right? Or even my grown daughter or my little granddaughter, like how I'm going to already start maybe tweaking how I interact with them, like when I make mistakes. And
Yeah.
every time I talk to you, you give me nuggets of like how I can show up better for just the people that I love. So thank you for
Oh,
that.
yeah, that's really beautiful. I super appreciate that.
Yeah. So it's been about a year since you were in the GTL class. Do you
Cool.
have, if you reflect back on that time, like, do you have any takeaways or like how it impacted you since?
Yeah, for sure. I think my biggest takeaway from GTL is really just the reminder, right, that transformation does not take place in isolation, right? And I think we try so much, like even me, when I'm like teaching on this, if I'm not careful, I'm just like, oh, I really need to change this. I want to grow here. I want to shift this. And I just get into my little silo and I'm like, better try really hard. And that's fine. And it is really incentivized in our culture. But the lesson of GTL is that change is expedited in wonderful ways when we do it in community, right? It's the relationships we build, it's those honest conversations that move not just people, right, but systems forward. And so I think that's something I'm always grateful for about GTL is just that reminder that we need each other to accomplish our goals. And I will say the one other thing I want to say, and I always talk about this if anybody asks me about GTL, I say this, is just like the amazing work that the staff does. So impressive and really, I used to be involved in nonprofit leadership. So when I see what that staff does to pull off and create what they create, I'm just always like, wow, that's impossible. Good job.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
100% from the bottom of my heart. I'm like, wow, I could never do that. They are crushing it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of GTO, we're going to move into something from GTO, which is our boundary breaker question. You will answer first, and then all three of us will, and the rest of it, Jamie and I will follow. So here we go. Three choices. One, what is the greatest value that guides your life?
So this is one that I got from my dad so much growing up. He just drilled this into us all the time, which is it comes from it's a biblical teaching. It's a biblical proverb. And it's this: if you are faithful in the small things, you will be put in charge of bigger things. What you are responsible for will increase when you're faithful in the small things. And if you're not faithful in the small things, you're not going to be given more, right? And in one part it says even what you have can be taken from you. And one of the big ways that shows up for me is gratitude, right? Because I can walk around my life resentful, Amy. Sometimes I'll pray for something to come into my life for 10 years and then it gets here and then I spend all my time complaining about it. You know what I mean? And so it's a thing where it's like, man, am I grateful? Am I a great steward of just this little small universe that I've been entrusted? Do I love it? Do I nurture it? Do I give it my heart? Do I show up with everything? Because I think that's trustworthy behavior. And for me, it helps me to kind of just trust the process in my life. I'm like, you know what? Let me just be faithful as I can be with the things that are in front of me, do as good of a job as I can. And I found that over time, yeah, if you live like that, the universe responds and I'm given more. And that helps me to kind of keep my head on straight. So that's the value that helps me. What about y'all?
Well,
I love that.
I'm just gonna say that it's interesting that when you gave that quote, it was interesting to me because my mind went a totally different direction. It really went back to so much about focusing on small daily habits, like that consistency of small daily things gets you where you wanna go. Like, that's kind of what I
Yes,
to tie into that aspect, and how so many of us can miss that and just be thinking about those big things, those big goals, those big pieces, and we kind of it can fall apart if you're not focusing on those smaller and more intentional aspects. So,
that's
thank you for
awesome.
mentioning that. That was really interesting to me to consider it from that perspective.
Yeah.
For me personally, I really dislike having to pick one thing, and I'm not going to because one of the things that my spouse and I discussed when we first had kids were what were kind of the values that were gonna be the foundation for raising them, and we picked 3. It was honesty, respect, and communication, and so I'm gonna go with those 3 because that's really what we have tried to lead with in our family life, and also I lead with that with my clients and my work, right? Being honest is goes back to what you were talking about, which is showing up and taking responsibility and for being truthful. Having great conversation and not trying to shy away for things because making sure you're taking responsibility for your actions, like all of that comes into that honesty aspect for me. And then respect, I think that's something that teaching kids and people you work with to learn how to honor each other and uplift and uphold each other's voices is such a big part of what is important to me and how I lead my life and how I work with people. And then communication. I feel like without great communication, then you can't have a lot of those other things. So those were the 3 values that we felt were really most important.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Raysun, because when I think of like relationships, romantic relationships, those are the three that I hold top.
Mm,
Because I think without if you're honest, the communication comes, the respect comes. I just think that those three all work well together in relationships. So I love those exact three. So
mm,
I love that you have that. But I think where my brain went to when you picked this, Michael, was greatest value that guides my life. And I think for me, especially now, like as I'm like growing into like my leadership era, kind of, is really trying to stay in my integrity because it's so hard sometimes, right? Especially when you work with different types of people and different types of organizations and all of
yeah.
these differences, like really trying to stay in my integrity and feeling okay with that and really saying, that feels yucky to me, this thing or this conversation, and really just honoring that and saying, like, no. And this has been really hard,
Yeah.
but because like it just doesn't feel good to me and being and saying like, okay, you can do that if you feel good about it. I'm not going to do that. And this year I've been really living in that and it's been hard, but I feel so much lighter and more peaceful in it. So that's my newest, like, I've been trying to make that guide kind of everything I do is just like staying in my integrity. And it's hard. It is hard when you are trying to when you want people to be happy. And
Yes. Yes.
so just yeah, that's mine.
It's great.
They're so good.
That, man. I'm
Leading
juiced up
from a
by that.
Yeah, leading from a place of, authenticity, really. You're, like, holding true to yourself with that, so I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when things are a little chaotic, I'm like, this is where I'm at today, and I'm okay with it.
I love that.
Yeah. We have come to kind of our flash round where we're going to do like quick one word answers. I'm like top of mind. All right.
Yeah,
You
let's
ready?
do it. Yup.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
How would your enemies describe you in 3 words?
Oh, annoying, evasive, loud.
Annoyingly kind or like add on a good thing?
Jamie, go.
Modern kitchen or original charm home style?
Ooh. I gotta go modern kitchen.
What's a place you've traveled to that changed your perspective?
Colombia, South America.
Board games or card games?
Card games.
What's a childhood game you love to play?
Hide and go seek. Play it all the
Mm-hmm.
time with my kids.
Mm-hmm. Breakfast burrito or pancakes?
Breakfast burrito.
What is your favorite food?
Right now, I'm gonna say a super on point salad. Sorry, world.
Mm-hmm. Do you prefer praise or critique?
Praise.
Great. That ends our rapid fire questions. That was fun to get to know you a little bit more. I know. Whew. Harder to answer than you think. Put you on the spot.
I was like, just be an improv, Michael. Just be an improv.
I love it. Love it.
And we're going to wrap this up with a final question. Do you have any special projects or events that you'd like to promote?
Yeah, I sure do. First of all, so if you're interested in sort of deeper conversations around masculinity, around healing, around living with purpose, please follow me on social media at Life Unbound Coaching, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Michael Brasher. But the thing I want to mention is I've organized this free monthly men's talking circle online. I've had an overwhelming response. It's awesome. I'm probably going to head towards switching it into 2 groups soon if it continues to grow, because I want to keep it something that's small enough to be impactful. And the last thing I'll say, if you are a man or know a man who's interested in thinking about masculinity and leadership, I have a free quiz that you can take. You can find it on my social media profiles. I don't know about y'all, but I love a score. I love an assessment. You can take this free quiz. You'll find out like how you're doing in some key areas, and then you'll walk away with really amazing tips on some shifts that you can make to live with even more intention and purpose in your life.
Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us and being our wonderful guest today on Lead Where You Live.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Y'all are awesome. I love both of you. Look up to what both of you are doing, and I'm really grateful just for the chance to share some time on a Friday morning talking to y'all. It's really nice.
Thank you so much. We've loved having you.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Lead Where You Live. We hope you're feeling inspired by our guest's story and the impact they're making right here in Tucson.
If you love this conversation, help us spread the word. Share this episode, subscribe on YouTube, and tag a local leader who should be featured next.
Because leadership starts with showing up, and we know Tucson is full of incredible people doing just that.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Lead Where You Live.